Welcome to Hail Varsity Radio, the voice of Husker Nation. Insight, opinion, expertise, with the biggest and best names talking Nebraska across the state. Join the show on Twitter at Hail Varsity and at Schmidt_radio. Call in at 402-466-ESPN or 1-800-825-5865. Here's Chris Schmidt.
Welcome to it. It's a Monday edition, Hail Varsity Radio Road Show here at Pinnacle Bank Arena. Halftime here between our triple header. Southwest a winner earlier. They just took down Omaha Central to move on to the semis. So excited for that for the Lincoln area. Coming up at 6, Pius the 10th against Fremont. That'll get going at 6 over on KFOR. Myself and Hall of Fame coach Jeff Smith on the call. And then Will Wilson tonight over on KFOR with Lincoln High. We'll have plenty of boys action tomorrow with Motzi, Connor Clark, and then Coach Smith and I also have Pius and Bell West. So we have an hour show, an abbreviated Hail Varsity. We'll be at PBA tomorrow leading into the boys 6 o'clock start. Numbers to get in, 466-3776, 466-3776, 800-825-5865. So we've had to reconfigure a little bit. You understand? That's okay. It is tournament time. So we will have Coach Barada with us from Southwest in a bit, talking about the big win over Central. We will have Mr. Blackshirt himself, Charlie McBride. It is a Monday with Charlie that is still standing. And we have a Hall of Fame basketball coach right now that even if they got beat by Missouri, he'd still go through the handshake line and shake hands, unlike Duke or their assistants. We say hi to Coach Jeff Smith. Coach, what a weekend of hoops. How are you?
Oh, fantastic. Yeah, this is tournament time, and this is what it's all about. And just love this time of year. Conference tournaments at the college level and high school state championships here, and it was just a great time to watch some fantastic basketball.
We are getting emails in on suggestions to who we should interview. Bert emails in, chris@hailvarsity.com. No, is what I'm going to say. We'll keep that email private. Can tweet at us at Schmidt_radio, Chris Schmidt, at Herbal Essence for Elijah Herbal, at Coach J. Smith 14 is where you find Coach Jeff Smith's Twitter.
And I did have to grin and bear it, but I did shake Norm's hand every time we went through the line. Even when Doug Smith and those guys had beat us, we'd still go shake hands. Come on, people. The handshake line is about sportsmanship. And
it's kind of like the coin flip.
What
it's
we're
sacred.
Projecting to the young kids. Come on.
It is sacred. Let's talk Nebraska basketball. Coach McBride coming up around 5:30 or so. Again, Greg Smith later in the week. We'll do the full Monty with Greg, get his recruiting insight later on in the week. But how about Nebraska basketball? How about Verge? How about a team that has folded a lot this year? Did the unthinkable, and they were able to stand strong. You blinked in the second half, and there's about 48 fouls against Nebraska. One team fouled to Wisconsin. The Fighting Brad Davidsons with all their flopping and whining. And I love Chucky, don't get me wrong. Chucky's not part of that insinuation. But, man, Verge got teed up for looking wrong at a dude after there was almost blood on a take to the rim. You get Trey ejected, which was garbage. You had no Bryce McGowans because he was injured. And Nebraska did what they wanted and closed out a 12-2 run when they were down 9 after technicals, after ejections, after free throw disparity. I mean, go down the gamut. The team that has found some fight.
Well, if you want to define perseverance, really for the whole season for Nebraska, they've definitely had their downs, and we've all had to sit and watch them, but they didn't quit, and they've just found a way to come together. And then, of course, in this Wisconsin game, talk about perseverance. There were some definite calls go against them. I felt like the Trey McGowan should have been a flagrant one. I felt like watching it, he was trying to hold up a little bit and knew he'd left his feet at the wrong time. Not that he wasn't play aggressive, because Trey does play aggressive, but we need that physicality out of him. He frustrated Davis in the first half, the way he was guarding, and they kind of got in Wisconsin's heads and had them, with palms up, talking to the officials, which is exactly what you got to do to beat a team like that on their home floor. So I thought they did some great things. They have all of a sudden kind of just. And obviously it took a long time, but they have found their roles. Lat Mayen's become kind of a defensive stopper and rebounding much better. He could have made the. I'll tell you what, Verge gave some guys some dimes and they could have
wide open threes.
They could have made some more. Lat had a couple in the corner. Tamanaga had a couple. And if those fall, that game wasn't even that close.
No, they get blown out, Coach. You're right on. But Nebraska and Wisconsin finished, I think, 5 of 15 from three. Actually, Davidson finished 5 of 15, but Wisconsin only hit 5 threes. Nebraska only hit 5 threes, but Nebraska had wide open looks because of Verge.
They did, and he played an unbelievable game. He has definitely come into his own playing point guard. It like the team, it took a while, and they've had to do a lot of training in that area. But he's found that balance of when he needs to score a little bit for us, and he scored a lot in that game. But he's keeping guys involved, and what he's really doing is keeping the defense off balance. They don't know whether to help on him or stay where. And if they help, he's kicking it now. Where earlier, even when they helped, he was forcing some things. But now he's feeling the help, and he's kicking it when he's supposed to. And then if they don't help, he's so darn quick. He's making plays at the rim and getting to the foul line. So just, really, really a nice job by him of learning. It's too bad we didn't have him for 3 years, and he learned that his first year, and we get to see this for 2 years. And but he's playing fantastic.
What flipped it? They mean the team finally say our way ain't working and we're just sick of losing? Verge is a guy who first and foremost hates to lose, and he wants to be a reason they win, but I think he shelved the personal reason to win. And listen, he's been a piñata all year. I've been a little less to get on him when it comes to the over-dribbling and some stupid shots. He's about 3rd or 4th on the list to me of this year's team when it comes to just stupid decision-making. I know folks can point to either some turnovers or forcing it or trying to get to the rim, but no one was moving or no one's hitting any shots. So he was going John Wayne for a reason, in my opinion, to try and go get the win. I don't think he's the easiest guy to play with, but I don't think his motives have been 1,000% get me to the league. Honestly, Kobe was big with a couple of timely threes. That was monstrous. Lat is getting better. But back to the original question, why now?
Yeah, because you look at it and you could say, they
Fred's got to be sick. They should be NIT bubble.
Well, that was his quote, that it makes him sick and for the fans and for Nebraska that it just took this long to find it, and you can't explain. Really, some of the guys you'd think they'd almost would have gone more individual with the record they had coming into these last 3 or 4 games, but instead they've kind of pulled together. But I also think you get that win at Penn State, and it just helps the camaraderie, helps the aura, and you figure out, man, if we play like that, we're pretty good. Then you do it against Ohio State and get another road win, and now I think they know what it takes to win on the road, win a top 10 game, and hopefully they can go in this tournament and just kind of keep this thing going. I know Northwestern's a tough matchup, but they beat us twice.
It's been a bad matchup just with the stretch four.
But aren't we due against them? I mean, you just look at the odds.
Due against about everybody.
Yeah, that's true.
And that's
that is true. But and you did that without Bryce McGowan's. And you know what? It's not all bad that he had to sit and watch one and figure out that the team can do pretty well without him, and watch the ball movement, watch the defensive intensity. Wilcher's playing at a high level.
I love watching
him. He has all year.
So technically, I mean, Walker's first half with 14.
Yeah, we can't go without mentioning him.
Was nice.
Yeah,
he's been such a warrior. So you possibly could get Wilcher back. You could get Trey back. What's the sales pitch to Bryce to really say, look, I guess the example is Iowa and Wisconsin's combo guard. that are now going to go 5th or 7th respectively overall versus being a second-round guy. It's whether or not you believe the messaging.
Yeah, and it does depend on a little bit. Yeah, I don't know the family situation. If they need the money, it's going to be a hard sell to keep him here. If you say, hey, you could be a lottery pick next year, and they're okay, and he can put in another year, and the NIL pays off a little bit for him. Can NIL boost with him with the kind of year he's had if he comes back? And can you sell that if you're, I'm sure those guys crunch the numbers. If you're a lottery pick, how much more are you going to make as a lottery pick than if you're the 22nd pick in the draft or 26th pick in the draft?
The thing that's beautiful about the NBA is the guaranteed moolah.
Yep.
But it's getting to that second contract versus going overseas and developing to a point where you're going to get that max deal.
Yeah.
By your second contract, your rookie deal is easier to swallow, specifically even if you're a late first round guy, you still got to make the team.
Yeah, I can't imagine Bryce coming back. In my personal opinion, I just don't think it'll happen. Although, from guys like Piakowski and Tyronn Lue, and watching those guys in their second year when they played here, just night and day. I can't imagine the kind of year he would have if he came back and played, and Walker comes back, and Trey comes back, and Wilcher's back, and then the key would be to find a point guard that can distribute and defend and do the things Verge is doing now, but do it day one. And now we're getting back to where they're getting more practice time and prep time in the summer and preseason, and we've got to develop those kids and find roles and find this ability to play together at a much earlier stage.
We are going to grab winning coach Tim Barada with Lincoln Southwest as the Silverhawks on to the semis. Coach Jeff Smith is going to pop out here for a quick second. And Tim Barada is in as Southwest now 20-5 on the year, 2-0 against Central this season. Coach Barada, my man, good to see you.
Thank you, Chris. Glad I could come over and talk after a little strenuous couple hours. So happy to be here. Happy for our kids, honestly. We talk about going back to November, starting to grind and things like that, and we changed a few things, and it became a system, and it's one of those things where not a lot of people like to do it because it's hard. But the reason the group I have, those 13 kids, stuck with it was they're reaping the benefits of that hard work right now. We were far from perfect in a lot of things we did, but I thought we played harder. I thought we defended better. I thought we played with more confidence. There's not many categories that I don't think we were better than they were today. And Central's a really good basketball team. They didn't win 24 games on accident.
No, and you'd seen them before. You had some incredible three-point shooting. Defensive intensity was high level in matchup one, but Coach Barada, you had to stress that again for the rematch just because of what Central's statistics say.
Yeah, they're a tough match if you go back and look at some of their films. But we thought we did some things defensively to them that were going to make things hard. They're a team where if they get ahead, that snowball just keeps rolling. Now you look at the second half and the fourth quarter, and you consider everything that we did. And I'm going to be the first person to tell you I voted for the shot clock. I voted for the shot clock, and I hope it gets implemented for kids in the future. But it's not in place right now, and I was perfectly fine with the point guard we have and our other ball handlers. We weren't very good from the free throw line, but we built a good enough lead that we can miss some free throws and still keep it a 10-plus point game. So we'll take it, and we'll have practice tomorrow and see what happens.
Coach Smith's going to jump on here with a question.
Tim, I thought a couple things. I thought your game plan was right on. You took away the people you had to as far as shooting the ball. You broke their press over the top early, and I think that kind of set the tone. You got some 2-on-1s. And I think Kennedy Williams is the contributor to that, just the way she has her head up all the time and handles the ball and just knew where the ball needed to go.
Kennedy's one of those kids that makes me look a lot smarter than I am. She's a kid that understands the game, and today her role was to be able to score the ball more than she has, and she understands sometimes that needs to do it. she's okay. She's had games where she's went 9 assists and scored 6 points and took 2 shots and was perfectly happy doing that because people key on her. But going back to today, I thought she controlled it with the pace that she played at. I thought she was the best kid on the floor. There's other Division I kids out there doing things, but I thought she was the best kid on the floor. Just with how savvy she is, and she understands, and Jeff, coaches kids and things like that. She just knows what needs to get done and does those things in order for us to be successful. Going over the top was a situation where we thought the way they had done things leading up to and on film was pressuring four kids in the front court, and then they put the big in the back and say, if you're going to run it at us, fine, we'll let her do that. And we said we had to run it at the big, whether it was a 2-on-1 or whatever. And luckily enough, we were able to get some scores. I thought Freddie being really aggressive early was key, just in the big scheme of things. But I think once we broke their pressure, and then I don't know if you remember in the second quarter, their go-to is kind of going to 1-3-1 and trapping in the corners, and we ran a couple sets where we got some really good shots and layups. And from that point on, I thought they kind of dropped their head. Another backbreaker is when we went back cut with Kennedy on a set that we run. They were trying to just pressure and overplay, and we got that look again. But it's a credit to our kids in executing, the stuff that we practice. Yeah, your 1-4 set against the 1-3-1 when you went big to big, kind of a high-low. Yep. That was a really good set, and so was the back door. And I thought your bigs they were under control, and they weren't afraid to attack inside, but they were playing off 2 feet. But I also thought on the defensive end, holding them to in the 30s, you boxed out terrific against them and physically boxed out. Yeah, that's as good. They're going to get some offensive rebounds, but I thought that's as solid as a rebounding effort as we have had. Webb and Wayne are so good at catch and shoot. Webb getting in foul trouble was key, but a little bit that's her and a little bit that is us, because we ran a set where we said we were going to rip through from the free throw line and see if we could draw one, and she did. That got her 4th foul. So it's a credit to our kids actually kind of paying attention to what we talk about, and then executing those things. Yep, they did. And you have this whole week, you have a week to get ready for this first one. So that's my last question. I'll hand it back to Chris. What are your thoughts on Millard South? I know you haven't played them. We have not played them yet. They're a group. There's a reason they're 26 or 27-0. They're really good from the arc. They got multiple kids that shoot the ball extremely well. Their press has historically given people fits. It's going to be a battle of wills in the sense of, we got pretty good point guard, and our other kids handle things pretty well. If we can handle their pressure and control the pace of the game, I really like our chances. I think we can guard well enough in the half court. You can't turn the ball over, and you can't give them clean three-point opportunities. So if we can do that, if we turn the ball over and we let free shooters get clean looks, then we're going to be in trouble. So that's the thing. I kind of complained about the schedule earlier this year when it came out of I'd rather play 3 straight days. I think Kennedy's a little tired, so I may be okay giving her an extra day off.
Coach Tim Barada with us, head coach Lincoln Southwest. Southwest a winner, 54-38 over Omaha Central, onto the semis as Southwest going to be taking on unbeaten Millard South. Coach Barada, last thought, we'll let you get back with family and friends and the team. When you look at this team and this group, you mentioned the grind and the mentality. Is this a group that immediately in, or was there a point in the year where it all started clicking? Well, honestly, this is our 3rd game with all 13 kids available. We have not had that until the district tournament. We had so many injuries, so we played through some things, and we got kids sitting on the bench right now that played key roles for us during the year. So it's credit to our kids of understanding what we need to be able to do in order to be successful. But we didn't change a lot. I've done our defensive stuff for the last 5 years. So what we did is we changed a little bit of the offensive stuff and ran a few different sets and things like that I think gives our kids a little bit of a sense of we can score by doing these things. And to their credit, they executed them really well today. So we'll see what Wednesday brings. True or false, you're going to share with the world your secret walleye recipe?
I'm going to go with false. We're going to keep that one in-house for a little while, but shore lunch is a good second. So if you're going to the store and get some shore lunch, that's pretty good batter for you.
All right, I tried to get the old Tim Barada, Coach Barada walleye recipe. Coach, best to you. Thanks so much for the time.
Perfect, Chris. Thank you. Thanks, Jeff.
All right, Tim Barada with us from Lincoln Southwest, Coach Jeff Smith, Chris Schmidt. Hail Varsity, an abbreviated version of Hail Varsity here at PBA. A quick timeout. Mr. Blackshirt is next. Charlie McBride with us on Hail Varsity.
And we're back.
Fellas, think we could listen to the radio
on Hail Varsity Radio, presented by the Nebraska Lottery.
Yes, that's awesome.
Thanks for hanging out. Hail Varsity Radio, an abbreviated edition here at Pinnacle Bank Arena. Courtside, Chris Schmidt and the Hall of Fame coach Jeff Smith. Long time with Lincoln Southeast, and of course, Coach Nee and Nebraska. Excited to welcome in Mr. Blackshirt himself. Charlie McBride joins us. Coach, we're a little bit later in the day, but thanks for hanging on with us. It's tournament time. How are you?
I'm going to bed about now.
Well, I hope the make-believe green room had some coffee or tea for you, so thanks for waiting. You haven't been too hammered with snow, have you?
No. Yeah, a little bit. Then we got some. We got rain and snow. It's kind of that nice stuff. It's rain that turns to ice.
Yeah, perfect for a day after Thanksgiving showdown, I'm sure, but not necessarily to navigate. Well, spring football is here, and I want to start with the defense. And Coach, as you looked at replacing some key guys, I want to get your thought here with this spring and this group. What level of the defense are you excited about? What level of the defense are you, I don't want to say worried about, but are you concerned with when it comes to replacing? You have to replace 3 out of 4 in the secondary, and you got to replace a lot on the defensive line. And then JoJo Doman, he doesn't grow on trees either, that nickel spot. What do you think of the job ahead for Coach Chinandu?
Well, I think that's one of the things, the way you have to kind of, sometimes when you don't have an experienced group coming back and you're trying to teach stuff, your practices are probably going to be a little bit different. The problem with spring is when you have a good group, you should have almost a regular practice type of thing. And I think the most important thing, this year, of course, they're emphasizing a little bit, I'm sure, special teams. And I'm sure that the guys that are the new coaches will definitely go along with that. And how they break them up and how they do it is, that's for them to decide how they want to, I know you have a head guy for sure. But and it's just how you're gonna use your other coaches to be part of it, or are you gonna use 1 or 2 of them, or to help along the way, because one guy, when you're going down and covering and stuff, can't watch everybody. So it sometimes takes if the graduate assistants are going to do that'd be great. If they could sink themselves into that during the week too a little bit. But that's what you have to do. You just have to switch it up. Now, if you have an experienced group, like I said, you can have pretty much a regular practice. You can, put in the stuff you're going to put in that's new, go over that, but you should have a schedule made out for all that stuff. And I'm sure that they didn't know who all of the people were going to be till, recently, so it wasn't that easy. So they probably they might have to go a little bit day to day on what they're doing, but you have to have a list of what you're going to do and try to fit all that stuff in. The one thing too is, I think when you get into the secondary and you get around that, you're talking about speed. You're talking about guys that can pick stuff up quick. Or maybe a guy that is a great athlete, but he doesn't pick up stuff as quick as somebody behind him maybe. and you can't afford to have a guy making mistakes all the time. So you have to go with a guy that, doesn't make those mistakes, and then fit the other guy in as the year goes on.
Charlie McBride's with us here, Hail Varsity Radio, an abbreviated version, a Monday with Charlie. Coach, Scott Frost was able to be with the number 2s last week. We'll hear from Coach Frost tomorrow, make that Wednesday. But how much time did Tom spend with you, and how did you help him on offense with your mind and defensively, and vice versa? His offensive mind, when it came to him, giving you some input during the spring with the defense you were trying to get to the top level.
Well, he would spend his time pretty much with the offense in the spring. He really, they had stuff they had to put in, and of course in reality he was the offensive coordinator of the team. Even though that we had a quarterback coach and we had some guys that could fit in, and I know as Turner learned it more, he was more involved in the meetings and so forth than he was at the beginning. But Tom in the spring worked pretty much with the offense and left us alone. The one thing that I did, I was able to coach the inside people. You cannot, and I'll say this 1,000 times, you cannot coach inside and outside, because you have to split your team, and you got guys standing around too much. You've got to concentrate on, if you're an outside coach, you got to be there. I mean, you got to work with them. You got to show them the angles of the backs are taking. There's 1,000 things that they have to teach them that you can't have your inside guys standing around watching. So you have to split that. So they're going to have to find somebody for sure to work with the outside guys, especially now they're going to need a pass rusher. They're going to need some of those guys that can rush the passer, and they've got to have a guy to evaluate them as the spring goes on to see who your best, pass rushers are. Now, you have some, but, you really want to have some depth there, and you want to have people that are maybe fit into blitzing more so than other people. So it's a process that you have to work on, and I think that's where the defensive coordinator comes in. In other words, you can't be a walk-around guy, I don't think, and especially in the spring. I mean, you just can't do that. You gotta Coach Chenander's going to have to, I would think, would coach a position or work primarily with a position. And, to get the fundamental stuff taught right. Otherwise, if you're just teaching the inside guys, if they're going to a 3-4, you got 3 guys you got to work with there, and then you have 2 on the outside. And those guys have to drop. Sometimes they'll be on air. Sometimes they'll be rushing the passer. Sometimes they'll be playing the run. So there's a whole gamut of things they have to do, and you cannot have the inside guys standing around while you're working with the outside guys. One guy can't do it.
Coach, going to go to the NFL Combine. Before we say goodbye, get your thoughts on JoJo Doman. He ran really pretty well. So did Cam Taylor-Britt. All the kids performed really well. Austin Allen and, of course, Cam Jurgens. But what do you project and what do you think of JoJo at the next level when it comes to safety or linebacker?
Well, I'll tell you what, that's the one thing the team that drafts him is going to have guys zeroed in on that position, what he's going to do, and it's just what they need. And the one thing that he has is he has the ability to pick things up fast. And he's like, I had Mike Brown, and I told those guys and said in 3 weeks he'll be telling your veterans what to do, and he did. And they called and told me that I was right. But that's the kind of people that he is. He's a guy that a lot of people will realize that maybe he's a hundredth of a second too slow for what they really think is right, and some of these guys go by that. And I don't go by that too much. He might be a guy that has such good instincts that he makes up for all that stuff somebody else has. So he's going to be what I'd call a diamond in the rough.
JoJo performed really well. So did Jurgens. So did Austin Allen. And, of course, Cam Taylor-Britt, a really good 40 time. And Cam's very physical. My wife is calling me. Coach McBride, do you want to talk to my wife? She's calling me on the radio, apparently. We'll just politely decline the phone call. We're working, is what I'm going to say. Coach, we'll talk next week. Thanks for making time, and you sleep tight if you're headed to bed. Okay.
Yeah, okay. I'll talk to you next week then.
All right.
Thanks for having me.
Appreciate you.
Okay, bye now.
Appreciate Coach being flexible there. The abbreviated edition of Hail Varsity on the road at Pinnacle Bank Arena. Chris Schmidt, the Hall of Fame coach Jeff Smith, Elijah Herbal back at our ESPN Lincoln studios. Tomorrow night, coverage of the boys as Pius and Bell West get rocking and rolling at 6 o'clock. The Pius girls looking for that three-peat. They are warming up right now. Fremont just in front of us. Coach Pisotto over there on the bench, and we have seen a mighty Markowski sighting. Andy Markowski's been wandering around.
Yeah, I saw Alexis around too.
Yeah. They did great work in the Big Ten tournament. We'll step away, take a quick timeout. Some final thoughts as we get you ready for tip. Again, KFOR will have coverage of Pius and Fremont. A timeout. Hail Varsity continues live at PBA. We're presented by the Nebraska Lottery.
And now, back to Hail Varsity Radio.
Here at PBA, getting ready for Pius and the Bob Devaney Sports Center over on KFOR. I'll have Pius and Fremont. Chris Schmidt, the Hall of Fame coach Jeff Smith. Thanks for spending time. The abbreviated edition of Hail Varsity Radio. Thanks to Tim Barada for stopping by. Many thanks to Coach Charlie McBride for squeezing us in a regular 4 to 6 tomorrow. Guys, the Calvin Ridley story is pretty brutal in today's day and age with what NFL players get, what guaranteed money first-round NFL guys get. The NFL releasing a statement today announcing Ridley's suspension, saying he gambled on games over a 5-day stretch in November in 2021. He was on the non-football injury list to address his mental health. He stepped away from football on Halloween to get his personal life right. You look at Ridley, he said he bet $1,500 total and says, I don't have a gambling problem. He also tweeted that he couldn't even watch football at the time he made his bets. It was made in his name. And the mental health step away is being reported on Atlanta's ESPN that he was really trying to duck from Loan Shark CO'd. Alex Karras from Webster fame, if you're an 80s sitcom fan, was part of the fearsome foursome with the Rams. But Karras suspended for a year. Paul Hornung also suspended for the 1963 season. Art Schlichter, there's a blast from the past, 1983. Yep. Schlichter, an incredible quarterback for Ohio State. Josh Shaw had to sit down in 2019. He had a letter written by Goodell to notify Ridley of his suspension. You have gambling partnerships now with the NFL. You have gambling legalized in many, many states where there's a kiosk in a lot of neighborhood bars or chain watering holes. And I won't be surprised if Jerry Jones or Robert Kraft have a gambling kiosk region put into their stadiums. And there you go. The thought is, Coach Smith, your guys make too much money to get into that much trouble to affect the integrity of the game.
Yeah, and I guarantee you the NFL does an outstanding job in education on what you can and can't do. I know gambling has just become ingrained in our society. What'd they say? 7 billion gambled on the Super Bowl. I know it's ingrained, but it's kind of like the Pete Rose thing. You can't bet on your own sport, and I guarantee you they educate and pound that home with those guys. I don't think there's an excuse that you were naive to it or it wasn't a big deal or you just know you can't do that, and I guarantee you the NFL pounds that into these guys that they can't do that.
Well, go get an endorsement deal with a local casino or DraftKings or whatever, bet on other things. It's real simple.
Right. Go to Vegas and bet on the NCAA tournament. And,
or just don't bet.
You have insight. We had in the 90s, we had the FBI come in and talk to our players on who's asking you, don't tell people about injuries. Don't tell people about how practice went during the year. You're giving them information. That's not legal to do. And, that was in the 90s. There has to be just an unbelievable education of, you can't bet on your own sport that you're involved in.
A friend of the show, Michael Franzese, former Colombo crime boss, he would pray, him and Henry Hill from Goodfellas fame, they'd walk in, here's 10G. They got involved with the Boston College point shaving scandal in the, late 70s?
Yeah.
Late 70s with Dr. Tom. Not our Dr. Tom, but formerly Iowa's Dr. Tom Davis. And it's a mess, and kids are educated on it, but you can get in the hole and you'd walk in and you'd put 10G on the table. You buy the player a couple of drinks, send over a lady, and
get your inside info.
And by the way,
you've got the players by the...
Yes. You miss a free throw or two.
Yes.
And there you have it. But we'll see what happens with Ridley if he can come back and get reinstated, if that's a possibility, Coach Smith.
Yeah, we always have to relearn things in our society, and this will be a great learning experience for everybody. And all this gambling stuff, we have a lot to work out yet in our state of Nebraska and nationally about what is and isn't acceptable and how procedures go. And this one just not at this time in our society. This one's not good.
We are going to step away, and Elijah will set the table over on with ESPN, and Jeff Moats over at the Botavati Sports Center with Waverly and their opening round matchup. We'll be back here over on KFOR in about 5 minutes as we get you ready for Fremont and Pius trying for that three-peat. Jeff Smith, the Hall of Fame coach, Chris Schmidt. We'll be back tomorrow on Hail Varsity Radio. Enjoy your evening. Enjoy the madness and fun that is. Coach, thanks for sitting in.
You betcha.
Appreciate you, Elijah.
I'll see you over on KFOR.
I appreciate you, Elijah, and we'll step away. Headed over to KFOR. We'll send it to Jeff Moats shortly on ESPN Lincoln.